name is Terence, and I'll be your MC for this session. So before we start the session, can I invite everybody to turn off their mobile phones or put it to silent? Can I have the slide, please? Okay, so for today's session, we have Associate Professor Jonathan Lien from the Department of Built Environment from the College of Design and Engineering to speak on his topic, Airport Master Planning and Development, ensuring a smooth takeoff for air transport hubs. We'll also be having a question and answer segment after the talk. So for those who are tuning in online, you can type in your questions into the chat box next to the video. Be sure to enter your questions into the chat box for the correct track. For those who are here in person with us, you can either choose to scan the QR code on screen, or you can approach the mic at the center of the room. So, without further ado, please help me to welcome our speaker, Associate Professor Jonathan Lien. Professor, please.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with me to talk about airports. I'm an airport person, and you can see it as I speak about it. It's something that I've been passionate about for a very, very long time. And, for us here in Singapore, Changi Airport holds a special place in each of our hearts. So, again, I want to thank you all for spending this morning with me, both the audience that is on site as well as those of you that are online. Thanks for waking up on a Saturday morning to talk about airport master planning. So the first slide, I put in some of the master plans from the various airports that I'm fond of or that have a lot of development. So even as you look at these slides, I was wondering whether you could guess, where are these 4 airports. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds, 15, 20 seconds, just to think, it's like, what's the airport here on the top left corner? What's the airport here on the top right? So I'm just going to let you all think about that for a while. Okay, so the top left, if you have guessed, that is Changi Airport. That's the new Changi East master plan. That's on the top left corner of the screen. And then below that, for those of you that like to go to Hong Kong, that's the new Hong Kong International Airport with the 3rd runway and their future concourse. It's supposed to be ready sometime within the next 1-2 years, I believe. And then the bottom right corner, for those of you that like to go down under, that's the brand new Western Sydney Airport. So Sydney Airport is getting very, very congested now. So Western Sydney Airport is being built right now, and that should be ready, I believe, by 2026. And then on the top right-hand corner, if you guessed it, you're really, really good, because there's Austin Bergstrom International Airport in the city of Austin in Texas, where I spent about 5-6 years. So later on, the case example, which I'm going to use, is from Austin Bergstrom International Airport in the state of Texas. So a bit about myself. I'm the co-program director of the Masters of Project Management program. That's one of the taught programs. So if you're interested in project management, you can come and sign up for our Masters in Project Management program. I teach case studies in infrastructure planning to the master students, and at the undergraduate level, my department hosts the Bachelor of Engineering Infrastructure and Project Management program. Previously, it was known as the Building program, then it became Project and Facilities Management, and then this is the latest iteration of our undergraduate program that has been around for 50 years. So I teach facilities planning and design in that class. And then I'm also an accredited airport executive with the American Association of Airport Executives. So there are 4 parts which we are going to go through quite quickly over the next 35 minutes. I'm told I have to finish at the 35-minute mark, so I'm going to try and keep to that. So for each portion, I'll be spending about 5 to 10 minutes to talk about each portion that you see now on the slide. I'll be starting off with the parts of an airport facility. We're going to use Changi Airport as an example, just to get you used to, what's the air side, what's the land side, where are the terminals, where are the support facilities at an airport. And then we'll be talking about the master planning process, the different steps. And then I'll be going through a case study of Austin Bergstrom International Airport to help you understand what the master planning process looks like. It's a very, very long process. It takes between 1 to 2 years on average. And then after that, there's all the construction that takes place over the next 5 years or 10 years. So for example, Changi East, they started work on the Changi East project back in 2014. Runway 3 has already been completed, but they're still now working on Terminal 5. So it's a very, very long process. That's why you need master planning up front. And then I'll be talking briefly about some global and regional airport development projects. So what are parts of an airport facility? You can break it up into four parts: the air side, the terminal, the land side, and the support facilities. So I'm just going to go through a picture of Changi as we understand the different parts of an airport. So this is extracted from the Changi East master plan pictorial that's available publicly. So whatever I'm showing about Changi Airport is available in the public realm, all the different pictures. So we are really fortunate that they had this press release last year, and they showed us what does Terminal 5, what they're planning Terminal 5 to look like. So on the air side, these are the biggest parts of an airport, the most important parts, the hardest to plan, the hardest to fit in. So we start with the biggest and most complex pieces first, and those are the runways. Because the runways might be about 4 kilometers long, like at Singapore Changi Airport, runway 1 and runway 2. They're both 4,000 meters or 4 kilometers long. But it's not just the runway that's difficult to fit in. You also need to be concerned about wind direction. So the runways need to be orientated to the prevailing wind direction. And then you also have the flight approach paths on each end. So we are looking at maybe like 5 to 10 kilometers out from each end of the runway. So typically for the airport master plan, the airport runways go in first. So each runway approximately can get you about 150,000 to 200,000 airport operations per year. So Singapore Changi has 2 runways, so that gets us about 300 to 400,000 aircraft operations per year. So there are 2 runways, runway 1 and runway 2. And then runway 3 has just been completed, so it's at the bottom, just below runway 2. There's about 1,000 meters, 1,600 meters separation between the runways. And then you see the taxiways. There's the rapid exit taxiway that you can see next to runway 1. So the rapid exit taxiway allows the aircraft to come off the runway faster. That reduces the runway occupancy time. So you can see it's at about 30 degrees rather than at 90 degrees. So imagine it's about 30 to 45 degrees, but if you just imagine that the taxiway was at 90 degrees, the aircraft really has to come to a halt and then make a left turn. Whereas with the rapid exit taxiway, it can exit quickly. You also can see the parallel taxiways that are next to the runways. So these allow aircraft to move back and forth from one end to the airfield very easily. Changi has 2 parallel taxiways next to runway 1, and then there's 1 long parallel taxiway next to runway 2. And then, of course, you also have the cross taxiway. And then the passenger terminals, I think most of you are more familiar with. There's Terminal 1 that opened in 1981. Terminal 2 that opened in 1990, Terminal 3 opened in 2008, and then Terminal 4 opened in 2017. And then in terms of ground access, you've got the Pan Island Expressway and the East Coast Parkway that's labeled on the left-hand side of the diagram. So the ECP and the PRE, those are the 2 expressways. The ECP brings us from the downtown city center, whereas the PRE brings us from the middle parts and the northern parts of the island. In addition to passenger terminals, we also have cargo terminals. Every airport has cargo terminals. These are dedicated air freight terminals. So our big operators is SATS, which is a part of the Singapore Airlines group. So they operate cargo terminals on the upper part of the picture over there. And then in the middle, you have cargo agent buildings. They have cargo agent buildings A to F. And I believe they have a megaplex 1. So these are where all the cargo agents break down cargo and repack the cargo within the cargo handling area. And then Singapore also has the Airport Logistics Park, which is at the bottom of the picture. So you have a lot of logistics companies that do a lot of logistics operation in the Airport Logistics Park. And then flight kitchens are part of the support facilities. Singapore Changi Airport has 3. You can see on the bottom left of the picture, you have SATS Catering Kitchen 1, that's right next to T4. And then the circle next to it, that's the Dinata Flight Kitchen. And then on the top of the picture is the SATS Flight Catering Kitchen 2. So each flight catering kitchen, I believe SATS 1 probably can handle maybe, I want to say 80,000 meals a day. So a lot of capacity. Other support facilities that are important for an airport is the fire stations. So we have fire station 1 right next to the midpoint of runway 1. So normally, if you're trying to figure out where a fire station is for an airport, you look at a runway, it's normally at the midpoint because there's a rule that the fire engine must be able to reach the end of the runway within like 3 minutes from the point they're activated. So that keeps us safe in case there's any aircraft incident during takeoff or landing. And runway 2, the fire station is at the bottom yellow circle that you see at the bottom of the slide. And then on the extreme right-hand side, near the cargo area, there's also a fire station, but that's more to handle building fires if any occur. We also have firefighting boats and I believe a hovercraft. That's near the Changi Village jetty next to the Pulau Tekong SAF ferry terminal. Other support facilities include the fuel farm, which you can see on the bottom right-hand corner. Obviously, it's a sensitive facility, so I had to use a very, very old picture that I pulled up from the National Archives. And then we also have a lot of maintenance hangars. SIA Engineering has I think, 5 hangars at Changi, and you can see them located on the right-hand side of the picture. And then Jewel, officially Jewel is known as a multi-use aviation complex, so I put it under support facilities, although you could consider as part of Terminal 1 as well. So this is a picture of what's happening at Changi Airport right now. If you like looking at airports, you can go to Google Earth. It's amazing. You can go anywhere in the world. And airports, you can always spot it on the satellite pictures. So you can see runway 1 on the top, then in between is runway 2, and then runway 3 is already commissioned. So right now we are having 2 runway operations, runway 1 and runway 3 at the bottom. Runway 2 is being worked on right now because they need to add on rapid exit taxiways to it. So we should achieve 3 runway operation hopefully by next year, which should be ahead of Hong Kong. And then Terminal 5 is going to be where the words Changi East development is. So let's move on to the master planning process. So this is the Changi East master plan. So you can see this is a rendering that was released last year. So you can see the brand new Terminal 5 on the bottom left of the picture. So this is the ultimate view. So not everything will be built out right now. They'll build it out in phases because airports are very, very expensive. Changi has not released an official estimate, but the estimate for Hong Kong's third runway and new concourse is at about 18 to 20 billion dollars. So you know that for us, it's going to be at least that amount, if not higher. So the Airport Master Plan presents the planner's conception of the ultimate development of a specific airport. So why do we do master planning? We want to make sure that future growth can be catered for. We want to maximize the potential of the site. We need to do phasing, like what are we going to build immediately, what do we need right now, what are we going to build in the 5-year mark, the 10-year mark, and the 20-year mark. Because the airport, the pieces that we talked about earlier on, the runways, the taxiways, the terminals, the support facilities, they all need to be placed in the most optimal position. You can't just build another airport easily because of all the things which I mentioned earlier, like the flight paths coming in, wind direction, trying to find a big piece of land, and then you also have environmental concerns as well. And then the master plan process, particularly in the Western countries, it allows all the stakeholders to come together in a structured manner so that if they have any concerns or they want to give feedback, they can be involved in the process. Airports are very big. For example, Changi is 1,600 hectares. And unfortunately, sometimes your home could be in the middle of that 1,600 hectares. There could be a historical settlement, like for Heathrow Runway 3, there's a historic settlement that's been there for, a couple of centuries, and you need to clear it. There might be graveyards. There might be endangered salamander, in the area. There might be a nature area that needs to be preserved. So all the stakeholders need to come together to be involved because the airport, on one hand, there's a lot of land that it needs, but it's a very important economic engine for your community. So this is the master planning process. First, you need to inventory all the different facilities that you have. In a way, just now, we kind of did it as we looked through the various parts of Changi Airport. And then you need to forecast, what's the demand? What's the demand for passengers? How many passengers do you think we'll have in 5 years' time? How much cargo do you think we'll have in 5 to 10 years' time? And then based on those projections, you come up with facility requirements, and then you need to place them, and you have alternative concepts. And then you need to come up with a preferred development plan. You have to probably go through an environmental review as well. And then you need to come up with an implementation plan on how you phase it, and then what are the cost estimates for it so that you can figure out where you're going to get funding from. Is the government going to provide funding, or do you need to apply for a grant? Do you want to use a public-private partnership because maybe your country or your city doesn't have enough money to fund the airport? And then finally, you have to come up with an airport layout plan. And of course, the financial plan will be part of that. So this is a diagram of how you go about doing it. You have the airfield. So for example, the airfield, you have different concepts and different ideas. So all these are the squares that are going in. Then the terminal, all the different terminal concepts are the circles. And then the triangles are all the different landside concepts, which are the roads and the car parks and rental car facilities. And then you screen through them to see which are appropriate. And then after that, you try to integrate it because some concepts might not work with other, like a particular terminal concept might not work with a particular landside concept. So you need to group them up, and then you integrate it. And then after that, the various integrated concepts, you need to screen through it again, and then evaluate, and then you finally come up with a preferred alternative. So let's now look at a case study. So this is taken from the Austin Bergstrom International Airport 2014 Master Plan. So why I've chosen to use a US airport is I'm familiar with it, but more importantly, the whole master plan document is available online if you want to read it. The setup for the US and a lot of the Western countries is the entire master plan is there. So you can read the 500-page document in your leisure time if you are interested. So when you start off the master plan, you need to think of what are the goals that you're trying to achieve. If you're going to be spending like billions of dollars, like the Austin one is $3 billion US dollars, you need to be very clear what you're trying to accomplish. So their mission is to connect their community with the world with an Austin-style experience. Their strategic goals are things like customer and community value. So obviously the passengers, the cargo operators, they are the customers, right? But the community also has a stake in it because they have to deal with the airport being in their neighborhood, right? So what value does the airport bring? The airport brings lots of jobs. The airport brings economic development. The airport allows for the city to be connected to other cities. In small towns, the airport is very vital because it could mean life and death, you know. For example, they have medevac services from a lot of the small towns, like in Canada. If you need treatment, you either get medevac by light aircraft or by helicopter, so that airport is very important for your community. And then operational excellence, of course, is one of it. You need to be very efficient to operate the airport as efficiently as possible. Economic sustainability, the airport ideally should pay for itself as much as possible, but typically it requires some cash injection from the government upfront. And then environmental stewardship, which is a key part of any master plan right now. So the master planning process, they had different phases for Austin. They had stakeholder input up front to find out what the community would like. The second one is coming up with the draft master plan. And then after the draft is created, they go out to the community again to get feedback and input. And then they have the final master plan, which is submitted to the city council in Austin, basically the local government officials. And then the FAA is the Federal Aviation Administration, the US, that manages the entire US air system. Examples of stakeholder engagement I've placed on the bottom of the slide. So Austin City Council, because they are the ones that make the final decision on behalf of their community, these are the elected officials. And then the Austin Airport Advisory Commission, it's citizens that are appointed by the City Council to the commission. They form a special project advisory committee. These will be people like the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses, the neighborhoods that are surrounding the airport. And then you also have the Technical Advisory Committee. These are the experts, people from the Federal Aviation Administration, people from the Local Transportation Council, etc. And then, of course, there's public outreach, if they don't fall into any of these categories, and then the Executive Committee of the airport. So the first step is to inventory existing facilities. So this is what Austin Airport looks like. As you can see, a lot of the newer airports always have parallel runways. This allows for simultaneous takeoff and operations. So Austin also has two runways. The distance between the runways is somewhat similar to Changi's, which is about 1,600 meters between the center line of one runway to the center line of the other runway. And then you can see the terminal building right in the middle. And then you can see the two cross taxiways. And then on the left side, you can see they have lots and lots of parking. They have like 10,000 parking spaces. It looks like an eyeball, okay? Because for them, cars are the main way you get to and from the airport. So you park at the airport. And then you can see the terminal roadway coming in. And on the extreme left is Highway 71. So that's the main highway that brings people to the airport. And then on the bottom left-hand side, you see the cargo apron is labeled. And why this strange shape of the cargo apron? So the history of this airport was it used to be the Bergstrom Air Force Base. So at the height of the Cold War in the 1960s, during President LBJ Lyndon Johnson's term, there'll actually be B-52 bombers ready on standby, ready to deploy nuclear deterrents anywhere in the world. And you can see it's right next to the runway, so they can take off very, very quickly. So when the airport, then in the 80s, when the Cold War kind of like ended, they had a lot of Air Force bases to repurpose. So Austin Bergstrom was one of them, and they converted that standby pad into a cargo apron in order to be sustainable. Because if you already built out the concrete for it, you might as well use it. And then on the top right-hand corner is the general aviation area, where you have business jets, you have flying school, you have people that fly privately, all in the top right-hand corner. So in a way, it's almost like three airports in one. Top right-hand corner is the general aviation, the middle part is the main passenger terminal, and then the bottom left is the cargo area. Interestingly, if you have a Dell computer, Dell is located in Round Rock, which is just north of Austin, And Michael Dell's private jet is in one of the hangars on the general aviation area. So after as part of the inventory process, you also need to inventory what's happening inside the terminal. You need to count how many ticket counters you have, how many security checkpoints, how many makeup belts, how many baggage claim, so on and so forth. And on the bottom of the screen is actually a snapshot of the passenger concourse. So the middle part is where all the check-in takes place. And then there's the yellow zone, which is the security checkpoint. That's the biggest one. On the other side, there's another yellow zone. That's a security checkpoint. And then all the blue areas are the gate hold rooms where you wait for your aircraft. You also need to inventory what you have on the air side, like the runways. And then on the land side, you need to look at your ground access roads. And then the yellow that you see on the bottom right of the screen is the parking. You need to figure out how many parking spaces you have right now. So once you have inventory everything, you need to come up with a forecast. So this master plan report was done in 2017, before COVID. And in 2017, Austin Airport had 13.9 million passengers. And then, so everything you see on the left-hand side is the historical numbers, and everything you see on the right is what they projected, okay? And the forecast is always wrong, but you still need a forecast to try and make your best guess. And then you make sure that your master plan is flexible enough that you can adjust it as and when necessary. So they projected that Austin Airport will grow at 4.5% a year. So this was the projection in 2017. Of course, we all know what happened in 2020 when COVID came. The passenger numbers completely plummeted. And then, interestingly, in 2022, the passenger numbers hit 22 million passengers, okay? So if you look at 2022, carefully, they were only projecting it to be maybe about 18 million. So things get quite crazy. And if you look at the historical side, you can see after 2001, it dipped. So what happened there? That was September 11th, okay, where passenger numbers dropped. And then in 2009, you also can see a dip. What happened there? The Asian economic crisis. So the airports are quite sensitive to economic growth. So typically, the economic growth of the community typically would be quite, the passenger forecast will be quite reliant on the economic forecast for that particular community. You also need to do a projection for aircraft operations, but that is derived demand based on the passengers, the type of aircraft they use, and the cargo. So in this case, they try to have a low case, a base case, and a high case, just to see what happens, whether the plan can deal with the different scenarios. And then you also need to do a forecast for the cargo. So you see this high case scenario. So what is this high case scenario that they're thinking of? So back when they were doing this, I mean, one of the thoughts was Amazon might open a logistics operation at Austin Bergstrom Airport. So that was the high case scenario. Right now, they still haven't built any facility there, so the high case is not going to come true. So the forecast can really change depending on what the community does or what the businesses do in that particular community. And then here we have the different planning levels. So you see the actual, it was 14 million passengers. So typically what you do is you do a short term, which is at the 5-year mark. You do a 10-year, which is the medium, and then a 20-year, which is the long term. So they were expecting, so it's 5, 10, and 20. So from 2017, if you count 5 years, that was 2022. So you can see they were predicting 18 million. But last year, they already hit 22 million. So imagine, you have an airport that was built for 15 million, and now you're trying to squeeze 22 million people in there. It's a mess, okay? And you can't build buildings quickly. So for master planning purposes, you create planning levels. Typically, you do short, medium, and long. But in this case, they also did an immediate, which is like 2019 at the 2-year mark. So remember these planning levels. We are going to look at them now in facilities requirements, which is the third step. So you can see for gates, at the short-term mark with 18 million passengers, how many gates do we need, right? So they need to go calculate at the planning level 2, which is short-term, how many gates do we need? How many check-in desks do we need? How many security lanes do we need? How many baggage makeup belts do we need? So you have to go through each subsystem within the terminal one by one and figure this out. So if you just concentrate on the PAL 2, 18 million, you can see how many they wanted to build at the 5-year mark. And then this is for the land side, and then this is, and then below you can see that was the roadway. Above is the parking and below is the roadway. So again, if you want to read all this on your Saturday morning, you can go to the Austin 2040 master plan. You just Google that, and you can download the 500 pages and totally geek out on airport planning, okay? And then alternative concepts, you need to evaluate all the different concepts, so you need to come up with criteria. So these were the criteria that Austin decided to use, and then they went ahead to evaluate it. So these were the different terminal alternatives they had. You notice that every terminal has a slightly different shape. So on the left side, you can see this one looks like it's got antennas. The bottom one, the build-out is at the bottom of the screen. And then on the right-hand side, you can see they do a pier. And then on the bottom right, you can see they build a totally separate terminal. So there are different concepts that you come up with. And then you use your criteria to evaluate them. And then after that, you have a preferred alternative, okay? So remember, we are trying to do like 2 years worth of work by many consultants in a 30-minute talk, okay? So there are a lot of different pictures, but the main thing is you look at all the different alternatives, and then this was their preferred alternative based on the criteria that they had set out. And then this is a preferred development plan. And then you have to implement it, okay? So they have different planning levels. So the blue is what they were planning to build out immediately in 2019. Then COVID came, and of course, half of your revenue disappeared. You just imagine suddenly your passengers like totally dropped. Changi dropped to 5%, okay? So Austin also or something like that. So all your revenue just vanishes overnight. Huh? So of course, you're not even talking about expansion anymore. But now that things have gone back to normal, all this is going to be built right now. So all the blue is going to get built, a new parallel taxiway, a new terminal, a new concourse, new roads, etc. And then at the 5-year mark, this is the purple phase. I think right now they're probably going to build the blue and the purple simultaneously. So the purple, you start seeing the cross taxiway and the expansion of the remain overnight apron. And then they're going to build the green at the 10-year mark, but of course it can be accelerated. And then they're going to build the pink. And the bottom of the screen, you can see that's the new cargo complex that they could actually build if Amazon wanted to build a brand new facility at the airport. So you can see how you can accelerate it, you can slow it down depending on your needs. And then these are construction costs. I'm just going to flip through some of this so that we can close out as we look at some developments. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some of these airports. You can go Google them later on in your free time. These are some of the ones that I picked. Nearer our region is the new Manila, Philippines airport. Phase 1, 35 million passengers. I picked this one because I see them doing land reclamation already. So that means it really is moving forward, because sometimes, people come up with a lot of plans, but nothing gets built. So this might take a while still, but it seems to be, the land platform seems to be getting there already. Western Sydney Airport, they are building phase 1, which is a terminal with maybe about 8 to 10 passenger gates. And then these are more of the Chinese airports. Beijing Daxing opened in 2019. $11.5 billion. So this is a brand new airport in the south of Beijing city center. The Beijing Capital Airport is more on the north side. So for airports, you can't just build them side by side. You need to try and spread them out so that the airspace doesn't conflict. And then, of course, Hong Kong Airport, another good example because they have a lot of documents on their website. They have a very involved environmental impact assessment process. So lots and lots of documents there. So you just go to 3-runway system. You can see the master plan, financial costs, Chinese river, the dolphins that they are looking after and all that. So you can go check that out, 18 billion. And then the Ezhou Airport in Hubei, this is near Wuhan. I picked this particular airport. There's so many airports in China to pick from, okay? I picked this one because it was the first cargo-focused airport. So that giant thing you see in the top part of that picture, that's the cargo handling facilities. It's not a passenger terminal building, okay? So this just opened in 2022. The other airport that I think I should have put in was the Chengdu Airport. Chengdu Airport just recently opened. I was wondering why one of my airport geek friends sent me a picture of it. He had flown there and he had taken a picture for it. So I just realized that Chengdu Airport, brand new airport. So that would also have been on my list if I had a bit more space. So many brand new airports in China. Moving further afield out to the Middle East and Europe, London Heathrow is attempting to build a 3rd runway. I don't know how long it's going to take because there are a lot of environmental concerns. There's a historic building at the end of one of the runways and a whole little township as well. So on the left-hand side of the picture is the 3rd runway which they're attempting to build. Top right, you see Istanbul Airport, opened in 2018. 3 runways, 1.4 million square meters, terminal, $12 billion, just opened. I think Istanbul Airport is going to give the Dubai and Qatar a run for their money. So if you fly Turkish Airways and you connect through Istanbul, that's the airport that you'll be using. And then I placed Dubai World Central there. That is the newer airport at Dubai. Ultimate capacity, 160 million passengers. You know, how long it's going to take to build this out, I'm not sure. But as you can see, for years, you know, this was like the poster child of how big airports can be. They are saying that total build-out could be up to $33 billion. And then North America, New York Airport is redeveloping itself, $19 billion, public-private redevelopment. Interestingly, in JFK, each terminal is like run by an airline, so the airline will pay for it. In exchange, the airport operator gives them a long-term lease for their terminal. Los Angeles Airport, $15 billion, similar setup. You can see the new airport people mover system that will bring them between the train station and the rental car facility and parking and the terminals. And then I put Austin Bergstrom there, just in case you wanted to know where Austin was on the US map. Okay, if you want to read more, you can check out these books, and you can also check out the master plan report. Here's a QR code if you want to find out more about the Master's PM program. We have a website. You can see what our program entails. And then there's a video as well on YouTube if you want to find out more about our program. So that's all I have. I'm going to hand the time back over to Terence, our MC. Thank you very much.
Professor, so we come to the Q&A session. Yep. So now we come to the Q&A session. For those who are physically present, if you would like to ask a question, you can approach the mic stand in the middle. Otherwise, you may want to scan the QR code over here, and you can key in your answer, and you can key in your questions there as well. So can I open the floor if there's any questions by our audience or professor? Okay. Maybe you can check if there's any online questions at the moment. Not yet. Okay. Okay, so I think maybe we'll just take some time if you have any questions. For those who are tuning in virtually, you can, as mentioned, key in your questions over here. Maybe we want to take some time. If you want to go through any of your earlier presentations about the airports, the case studies.
I've got some pictures of Changi East if you all want to look at them.
Yeah, maybe we can do
Yeah.
that and then let the audience gather their thoughts on it. So maybe we can go back to the.
So I've got some pictures here of Changi East development. If you want to read the CAG, if you want to see the Changi East website, you can scan that QR code. But here are just some pictures. Again, everything is public. I'm not showing you anything that Changi considers secret. Because normally the announcements come out during National Day rally speech by the Prime Minister. So this was back in 2013 when the Prime Minister announced Changi Jewel and the development of Changi East. Jewel was like top secret. It was actually the code word for the project. And then finally he announced it in 2013. That's like, oh good, can talk about it already. And then in 2022, that's when they announced the Changi East master plan. So again, you can just go Google it, National Day rally speech, and then you can hear what the Prime Minister spoke about Changi East, the importance of the development. And then in this slide, you also can see this Changi East urban district that will be developed. So if you think Jewel was spectacular, stay tuned. I'm sure Changi Airport Group is going to wow everybody with the Changi East urban district, okay? Jewel is just the warm-up as far as I'm concerned, okay? It's like a test bed. These were the old master plan options that they had before they finally decided on the current one. The one that you see above, right, you can see that this one's better for passenger flow, aircraft flow, but this one's better for passenger flow because you don't have to go into a tunnel or take a train. So it's kind of like trade-offs between what you want. And then later on, they settle on this scheme. And then this is more for planning purposes, right? But it's not pretty, right? The architect hasn't completely come in yet. And then bam, 2022. This is with the architect's rendering and everything. So yeah, it looks quite nice, in my view at least. Some aerial shots from Changi Airport Group, all the development that's taking place. Normally they have a site office that's actually on the other end. So this is the Changi Air Show site. For those of you who are familiar, this is runway 3, and then runway 2 is over here. Another picture. So the main site office is actually over here. Okay, because when you're going to be there for 10, 15 years, you actually build quite a nice building and you have a lot of visitors. And then look at these canals. These canals are very big. They can be like 20 to 50 meters wide, okay? Not long, wide. So imagine one of these is as wide as your Olympic-size swimming pools. Any questions, or should I show more pictures?
We do have some questions. Okay, so maybe we can just show the question about. Okay, so this question is about the project management master program. Does it require any previous experience in project management?
For us, the program is focused on the built environment and infrastructure, but we welcome people from all industries. The majority of them will be from the built environment. We would like people to have work experience. So ideally, 2 to 3 years work experience. We also, during the interview, we'll also be asking, where they see themselves, like how is this going to help them in their career? And obviously, if there's a drive and motivation for them to do project management, we definitely welcome them. I mean, ideally, you should have some project management experience, but we are willing to be open about it if the person brings other things to the table as well. So just apply, and then we will take a look. And then you can, I think NUS continuing education will have other talks. So maybe you want to come for another talk when we specifically talk about project management. Has Changi area always been the ideal place? When they were planning Changi Airport, well, the ideal place is far enough from the urban area that you don't disturb people, but not far enough that they can't get to it. Okay, so there's a bit of a tension. So the first airport was in Seletar. Then the first purpose-built civil airport was actually Kallang. Okay, that's why there's so much land around Kallang to build sports hub. It wasn't for a sports hub. It was an airport there. That's why you have they have like Old Airport Road and all that, because that was the airport. There's a big circle. So just Google Kallang Airport, you'll see a lot of it. So Kallang, then it moved out to Paya Lebar. So back then, Paya Lebar was quite far out in the 50s. Right? They did consider Changi, but Changi was way too far back then because you need to have the road connection. And then if you spend too much money building the road connection, you have no more money left to build the runway. So there's a bit of tension. So right now, yes, Changi is the ideal place for Singapore's airport because it's right at the end and it doesn't disturb anybody and it's relatively accessible and enough space to expand. Yes. Next question. What do you think is the most important technique in airport planning? Technique. I mean, if you're interested in airport planning, the first place to start is to go read an airport planning book. I have some recommendations like Ashford. You just type airport master planning. If you pick one by a reputable publisher, it will get you started. I think for me at least, you must want to know about the airport and learn about the airport because it's quite a complex process. So if you understand what the different constituents need and want, the different components, that will definitely help you. And then probably, in all planning professions, the ability to talk to different people and bring together the stakeholders and get feedback from them and bring together a team. I think all these are important techniques because airport planning is actually a team sport. It's very hard to do it by yourself. You need various experts in the various fields. So, I mean, like some people could be the expert at runways and all that. So that in a way is airport planning as well. So it depends on which part you actually want to go into. Yeah, so you can start with a book or a website and check it out. There are ebooks as well now.
Okay, we can move next question.
Should I be talking about project? This is actually the project management masters. Maybe what you could do is from the masters PM website, there's an email address. So that goes to my admin. So maybe you could send that question to them and then they can address it so that I can clear the airport planning questions. I don't want to bore those that actually want to hear about airport planning. Is there usually a deadline or time frame for architects to design the airport before the engineers start construction? Well, the master plan has to be completed first, right? So, I mean, airport planner can be an architect, can be an engineer, or any of the built environment professions. So for this one, let's say just now you saw the example of T5. Everything else can be built. Like they were building runway 3 since 2017, right? In the meantime, they've already kind of like designated roughly where the terminal is going to be. The shape is roughly there. They can put curves and all that, adjust it slightly. So, there isn't really a deadline. The master plan definitely must be fixed before you can do construction. But then each individual building, once you have kind of like designated a general area for it, you don't have to start the design until you really need the building. And like for example, T5, they are now only doing the design, but construction will take quite a while, and we will have achieved 3 runway operation by then already.
Okay, I think we have a question from the floor, so maybe you can push the mic.
Hi, good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
I've never had any prior knowledge in airport management, so I come from a complete layman perspective today. My question is divided into two parts. We're currently working on T5, which from the news that I've read, it's supposedly the biggest terminal we're ever going to have. In your opinion, do you think there's an absolute need for this? And the second part of it is, I think air traffic congestion is a problem that we face at Changi Airport. If we have 5 terminals, but we only have 1 control tower, how is that still going to ease the problem of air traffic congestion with a new terminal that's so big? Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, the first question again, the end of it?
Do you think there's an absolute need for a T5?
Oh, okay. Is there a need for T5?
Yeah.
Okay, so just now earlier you mentioned biggest terminal. So bigger is not always better. Because let's say you have been to some airports, I'm not going to name any specific ones, but the walk is really far, right? So actually there is a limit to how far you want to walk. So bigger isn't always better. You actually want to make it right size and human scale. So bigger is not always better. To address the T5 question, do we need T5? In my view, you need T5 because for us as a global center, we have a different priority. It's not like the US where the airport is just like a bus station. For us, the airport represents the country. The airport represents how well connected we are to the world. It represents tourism, business, and all that. So actually T1, T2, they're getting quite tired. There's only so much facelift you can actually do. I think some countries in the world, they might not have built the T5, but I think we are in a different situation where T5 would give us a competitive advantage. So definitely T5 should be built. The challenge is how big. We also want our home carrier to be competitive, those that base here. I mean, definitely Singapore Airlines and Scoot. So if you actually give them a good terminal that's efficient, pleasant connections, people might choose to connect through Changi. So for us, in that way, the business need handles it, but it's quite costly. So how do you balance the two? So that's the T5 question. And then airspace. Airspace is actually determined more by the runways. So we have 3 runways. I believe we are building a 4th, but you can see the satellite map for yourself. So the more important thing is actually the airspace. So Singapore contributes quite heavily to the civil aviation globally. So we ensure that the airspace, air lanes, we have as many lanes as we possibly can get. We have diplomacy with Malaysia and Indonesia, which is our neighbors. And there's a lot of negotiation that goes on. So that will maintain the airspace capacity that would drive the runway capacity, that would drive the terminal capacity. We can chat some more. I think we need to move on because there's 11 a.m. Coming in. So back to you, Terence. We can chat some more in the side room over there.
Okay, sure. Okay, so yeah, with that, we will wrap up this session. But if anybody has any questions they would like to ask Professor Jonathan, I would invite you to go to the other room. I think it's 331, and then you can have a chat.